Hey, what's going on, everyone? You could see here we just moved into our new house. Very grateful to be able to purchase my first house, and thanks for tuning in to the podcast and my channel. So, today I will be sharing with you a reflection of 2020. Yeah, I wanted to reflect on this year. It's been a pretty challenging year for me and for many other people. Um, some of the reasons is I'm quite extroverted. So this year, I was able to focus on family a little bit more and actually got married and engaged and bought a house in the same year. So it's been a really productive year. But being able to slow down and also reflecting on how much I missed the office definitely helped me be able to appreciate how amazing the office is. I work at LinkedIn for those of you who don't know me too well, and yeah, also being able to read books. I was able to read like a ton of books this year, so let's talk about some of the lessons and themes. So the first question is, how do you describe this year in 3 to 5 words, keywords? So one, I would say solitude. This year brought a lot of reflection, and it's helped me kind of analyze like who I want to be in the world. I was able to reflect on the moments that gave me the most fulfillment, and for me, it was like coaching SDRs to get promoted. Um, Emily Lidner, who's a part of my team now. It was really cool to coach her and help support her, and also Ryan Johnson, who was promoted to LinkedIn Sales Solutions account executive. I noticed like even though I've done really well and I'm one of the top performers, the things that gave me the most joy was actually coaching them. So that's really good for me to know and putting out in the universe that I do want to be a sales development manager. So that way, people can support me in reaching these goals. So this year I also hiked a lot. So that was cool to be able to just hike by myself. Before that, honestly, I've never hiked by myself. So this was a cool. I think I've been hiking at least 30 times, probably more this year, which is a lot more than I usually do. So I appreciate that and was able to listen to some of my favorite books and novels. This time also helped me be able to double down on relationships by starting my own men's group. They put together a video of gratitude for me and even asked my sister, and it really touched me enough that I cried. So that was really cool. So I was also able to Zoom with my friends in other states and cities. Usually, we're all too busy, like people having kids and people just becoming doctors and nurses, etc. So because we were all so career oriented, we were able to like just hang out and chill again. So that was really cool. Um, so number three is love. The engagement, marriage, and moving into our first home. Being a homeowner was actually one of the biggest obstacles for me because I was someone who really liked to travel, and I never thought it was possible to do both. So just by practicing self-love and self-compassion, I was able to heal and be able to leverage Lyra, which is an employee assistant program, which if your company doesn't have it, it's basically a resource for mental health. So you have a therapist or a coach that you can hire. So that was really cool. And yeah, that I think this year, like the self love, to summarize, I was much more comfortable with just being with myself. Before, I always needed like people or accomplishments or accolades to feel alive. But I realized that opening up to my wife, I labeled myself as independent, and that's someone that being tied down would really like mess up my travel goals. But in reality, like showing love and practicing partnership and love has allowed me to grow and be about something more than just myself. Gratitude. One of the some of the best moments from this year is when we video called. I think we FaceTimed one of the Build On ambassadors, and I showed how much the villagers in Mali, like really appreciated us to help them build the school. So that was a really touching moment for me to be able to see orphans in Vietnam. Also, was heartwarming. Where so just to reflect on the volunteer work that I've done this year, that's been some of the most impactful experiences for me. And it's also been pretty eye opening as well. Like this year, so many new changes. I did Tony Robbins Unleash the Power from Within, and Tony Robbins does a really good job of sharing authentically about his stories about how he had a lot of imposter syndrome. He didn't graduate. Well, he didn't go to college. He didn't grow up with a lot of money. He didn't have the most stable family, and all of that, all those insecurities. Realized like basically it helped me realize like a lot of things about myself. Um, so yeah, just in reflection, what were the top lessons learned? Number one was compassion. There was so much time, wasted energy trying to change people, trying to be righteous about like what I think is the best way to live life. So there's a lot of mental energy into even saying things like, oh, the government is controlling our lives. Like if I wanted to live in a dictatorship, I would move to a different country. But realizing there's no right or wrong, and my perspective is just one perspective. So that's a huge lesson, because I can only control who I want to be in the world. So like with any other countries, like we have our faults. Like America's definitely not perfect. God knows, we all know that. But at the end of the day, we do have a lot more luxuries than most other countries in terms of independence, freedom, and not having like a dictatorship essentially. Um, so even though it is good to want to make the world a better place, when you accept something, you're able to finally move on from it. So that's a huge lesson for me. And the next thing is number two, partnership. So luckily, I had I had the manager of the year in Carter Perk. She's awesome. So a lot of lessons in partnership, being able to be married to my beautiful wife, which honestly, like I did take her for granted. I tell her all the time that she's like the best thing that's ever happened to me. Um, so prior to this, when I was working like crazy, I was too busy to even eat dinner with her. Like it's really sad to say that, but I in this time I realized that I was neglecting literally like most important person in my life. So being able to double down and spend quality time with her was a huge um, reflection for me. Number three, going outside my comfort zone. So reaching 100 episodes of the Davidson Ham podcast and doubling down on my YouTube channel were two things I was really afraid of, because I really hate watching myself and listening to myself. Like I'm sure most people have this, where it's just painful to do that. Um, and then the third thing, what I'm most thankful for, is friendships. Like this time has really helped me become much closer to a lot of people. It's also helped me be able to have gratitude for LinkedIn and the office, and when we don't have the office, like you really appreciate what you can't have anymore at the moment. And then lastly, my family, to be able to move back to Jersey to come visit my family is amazing. So yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Would love to hear what your takeaways from this year is as well, and I would love for you to be able to send it. And cheers.